Hey guys, welcome back to another great episode of the show. And today I'm going to be reviewing a game that I finished yesterday, Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex. Now, this game was one of the first mainline Crash Bandicoot games that I'd ever played, and I really enjoyed it. Now, the story is that all the villains from the Crash series, like Cortex, Engine, Tiny Tiger, Dingodile, Entropy, and Uka Uka, they all form a plan to defeat Crash once and for all. And then Uka Uka awakens a group of masks known as the Elementals, who are apparently responsible for all the natural disasters that happened on Earth. And also, Cortex creates a new, genetically altered creation called Crunch Bandicoot to finally defeat Crash. Now, the gameplay in Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex is fairly similar to the original games. You just run, you slide, you spin, you double jump, you crouch, you jump on enemies, you spin them away, that sort of thing. The levels are actually pretty good as well. There are five sets of levels, each containing 5. So there's 25 levels all in all. So 25 crystals to obtain. There's the regular platforming levels. There's the levels where you roll around in a big ball. There's also swimming levels and submarine levels and lots of vehicular sections and even planes as well. And you even get to play as Crash's sister Coco for the first time, like in a platforming stage, not just a vehicular stage. Now that's pretty cool. And I have to admit, the levels were pretty good as well. And but I have to admit, one pretty bad aspect of the game was that Crunch was the only boss that you actually fight against. Well, while it is just Crunch every single time you fight him, he is powered up by a different mask, so it has some sort of variation. The first fight was him. Now, I can't exactly remember the names of all the masks, so I'll try and describe them as best I can. The first mask controlled Earth, like rocks and such. And in the first Crunch fight, you just roll around the ball again and try to hit loads of boulders before Crunch does so it can attack him. Do that 3 times and the fight's over. Then there's another elemental mask that controls water called Wah-Wah, which is actually a bit lame, to be honest. Anyway, in that fight, Crunch is powered up and becomes a being made of pure water, and you have to avoid his attacks, whether they be low waves, high waves of energy, or just like clapping and all the waves come up. Hit him 3 times and you win. Or is it 4? No, it's 4. It's 4 times. The next one is against a mask called Pyro, who controls fire, obviously. And there's also one thing I forgot to mention. There's also a battle suit you can use, kind of like from the Alien film, the Alien films. And you use that, and you just avoid Crunch. You just run away while you dodge the boulders, and then you just spray him with water when he runs away. Pretty good. Then there's the fight with a wind mask, or a weather mask, anything else, like storms, where it basically turns him into a genie with power over lightning. And it's a plane riding boss, so you have to hit where Crunch is actually hit where the attack's coming off, whether it be his arms, his face, his body, or his other hand, and just while he's attacking. And then there's the final boss. You have to avoid attacks from all the different elemental masks, and then shoot Crunch with the Fruit Bazooka that you earned at the end of the other boss, the last boss. And then after you've hit him, Crunch just bops Cortex into the field, and you have to spin Cortex as well. And that's pretty cool. And so basically, Cortex's plan is foiled, but it turns out in order to get the true ending, you have to find all the gems, just as I mentioned in my Crash Bandicoot Warped review. And I must admit, it's going to be a bit... It's not impossible to find all the gems, but it's going to be pretty good. I mean, I've already got a few of the gems, so it shouldn't be too hard. Now, a little bit of extra facts about the game. The first mask, the rock one that I mentioned, the one that controls Earth, he's actually voiced by the actor Thomas F. Wilson, who people may know as Biff from the Back to the Future films. Who knows? In fact, I may do a review on the Back to the Future films in about, in a future video or something. And they actually and they actually made a reference to one of Biff's lines from the film. During one of those vortex scenes where the floating head taunts you, the mask says, "What are you looking at, fuzzhead?" It's similar to Biff's line from Back to the Future, "What are you looking at, butthead?" Yeah, I kind of found it funny. Then there's Pyro, who is voiced by Mark Hamill, who people may know as Luke Skywalker from the Star Wars films, or as one of the many voice actors who have lent their voice to Joker. In animation, anyway. He did actually use his Joker voice for Pyro, and I have to admit, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. And there was also Clancy Brown in it as well as both Cortex and Uka Uka. Now, Clancy Brown is also known as the voice of Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob SquarePants, who is actually one of my favourite characters. But back to the point, it's pretty cool to see him play play the two villains. And I have to admit, Uka Uka really sounds a lot like Mr. Krabs. So, all in all, Wrath of Cortex was a pretty good game. I wouldn't say it's one of my favourites, but it was still pretty good. The action was all pretty good, and I can't wait to find all the gems and probably have a go at the time trial races, or the time trial relics pretty soon. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and join me next video when I'll be talking about the recent live stream called Sonic Central, which talked about all the events, games, and partnerships that Sega will be doing for Sonic's 30th anniversary. Join me next video where I'll be talking about my thoughts on Sonic Central. See you next time.